of sons, a couple of guns, a couple of that bust up the party and fuck up the fun. She
YouTube, it's 93 till now. I'm back at it again with another video. It's quarantine season. It feels like it. It feels like quarantine year. But hey, I decided I'm gonna drop this video for anybody out there struggling with a mop, with a messed up haircut, with a bad hairline, with just the craziest hair that you could think of. This tutorial's for you in case you wanna get a cut. And you can ask your mom to cut your hair, your grandma or grandpa. They watch this video, they're gonna learn how to do a mid fade on you. So this video is specifically for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off this haircut with So to start off this haircut, I will be using my Andis Slimline Pros. Trying to make sure that the balding guideline is nice and crispy. With this, you're just giving this guy a bowl cut, but you're trying to make the lines as straight as possible. And people are gonna probably look at you funny at first when you set it in, but that's how the fade goes. Everything's literally, a fade is from bald to less hair to more hair to hella hair to hella more hair. That's all it is. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take my T outliners. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the rest of the area. The reason why I like to go through this process is because I used to use my T outliners to basically set the guideline and then trim it. But I started noticing that my clippers would start getting stuck and it get the blade all dull, and I didn't like that. So I decided that I would just buy a specific trimmer just to set the guidelines in, just to make sure that everything would be nice and set as possible. And also on top of that, it would make the fade cleaner. I've noticed a lot of beginners who have started cutting hair, when they first started cutting hair, they would set the trimmers in and it cut so deep that then they couldn't even bald out the guideline. They couldn't blend out the guideline. And so I kind of like learned over time that, hey, if I'm gonna make sure that the fade is cleaner, why not just go through this little process? It might take a little while, but hey, the fade's gonna be nicer, the client's gonna be happier, and it's a win-win situation. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my Barbers foil shavers, and I'm gonna bald out the entire head and leave an inch of stubble from the bald guideline all the way up to that first guideline. The reason why I do this is because it gives me enough room to transition the fade and make sure that it's very nice and clean and smooth. If I bring up the fade, if I bring up that bald guideline a little higher than an inch, it's gonna give me a hard time, and I want to make sure that I'm having an easy process in fading. Also, on top of that, if you bring up the guideline too high, you're just gonna end up with a bowl cut. So as you can see right now, I'm going ahead with the foil shavers and I'm flipping it, tapping the guideline from the bald and stubble to make sure that this is a smooth transition. And because I gave myself a whole inch to work with, it's gonna bring a nice smooth transition. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my clippers, these fast feeds with the ceramic blade, and I will open up the lever, and I'm gonna go ahead, use the same shape that I set my first initial guideline with, and I'm going to go at least an inch above that original shape. So stay consistent with the whole entire form of the head. Also, you want to make sure that you keep your guidelines clean. The reason why I say this is if you rush the process and you skip and you just like go through just trying to get through the entire fade as fast as you can, you're going to mess up the fade. What I'm usually doing is I'm always running back that same initial size and going through it at least two more times to make sure everything is the same length. That way, when I'm fading, it makes my life easier. So my next step is I will create another guideline. This time I'm using a one guard with a lever open, and I will continue to shadow the same shape that I did before. Like I said, whatever that first guideline was, when you started off the fade, you're gonna create that same shape throughout the whole entire haircut. So there is still a lot of hair hanging over. What I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'll take the 2-guard open with an open lever and just take the clipper and just go straight up to the ceiling. That's all I'm trying to do. If I dig into the hair too much, the problem with that is it's going to ruin the entire haircut. You want to keep that length long. You want to keep it dense, as they would say. And all I'm trying to do is just shape out the hair. The head. Male clients like square shape. If I round that thing off, oh crap, like, yeah, this video would be ruined. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the 2-guard open and just go all the way up. So now that all my guidelines are set, every hair is even, and I made sure of that. Now the time is to start fading. So during this process, as you can see, I have a little system. Flick, flick, brush, brush. Flick, flick, brush, brush. Flick, flick, brush, brush. And the reason why I do this is if I take just a full-on clipper and go ham on it, it's gonna set another guideline, and that's gonna ruin the entire fade process. So I'm constantly taking looks, I'm constantly flicking and brushing and mindfully making sure that it's fading and I'm not just cutting hair. It's a process that I'm trying to make sure that everything comes together smoothly. And as you can see with the 1-guard, having it be closed, it didn't really do anything to that line. But what it does for me though, is that it actually lightens it up so that when I come in with the 0-guard, it makes the world of difference. And that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do with the 0-guard. This is what's gonna make sure that that line disappears. now I have the last guideline to fade out. And what I love about my fast feeds with the ceramic blade is that it is zero gap, so it gets in there, and I'm telling you, it works wonders. And usually I feel like when you're using like a wall, and it's not zero gap, I don't know, I've never found any other clipper that worked better for me other than this. And I've had this clipper for like since 2016, and I've never never went anywhere else, to be honest. And I love it. And as you can see, basically what I do with this, I have the lever closed, and wherever that guideline is, I barely tap it. You know, I'm trying to make sure that I stay consistent with the fade, because at this point it's so easy to just raise that guideline just a little higher. So to avoid that, I work in steps. My first step, once I see that guideline, just a little tap, just to raise it a little, not too high, but just a little. And then I open it halfway. I open the lever halfway, and I go up a little higher. And then to finish it off, make sure it's clean, open the lever full, and then boom, the line disappears. And it's a gradual transition. Like I said, it's a gradual transition. If the guidelines were shorter and smaller, the fade wouldn't be that clean. And that's the problem everyone has when they first start off fading, because people are afraid to cut hair. As I was very scared of cutting hair, and I wouldn't want to take it up too high, because I think, hey, it's a bowl cut, it's not fade. But little did I know, I didn't trust the system. Perfect. So now we're down to the detailing. Everything is set, but now, if you could think of it, this is basically like fixing the rough draft to become the final draft. And you're cleaning up all the run-on sentences. You're cleaning up all the wrong words. You're fixing it up to be the perfect piece of work to turn into your teacher. And so with detailing, it's the same process. You're looking at any of the dark spots, you're flicking it out. You're using different guards. You're going a little higher. You see a little fade that's not really good, you clean it up. And so this is what turns a good barber to a great barber, is by taking the time to do this.